Hi, my name is Astrid.
Hi, my name is Hazel.
And we make flags for the Pride movement.
Astrid and Hazel are 20 and 21, and they're originally from Värmland, but they live here in Gothenburg together now.
I've been engaged in different forms of activism since I met Hazel, basically. And it started out with us being in Värmland Pride together, which is like the regional Pride organization where we come from, which is Värmland. I've also been doing some climate activism as well.
When I met Astrid, we were in something like 7th or 8th grade, and we started doing activism together.
Yeah.
Almost right away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their activism took many shapes and forms and eventually led to them starting QueerKompaniet.
I think we've been sort of bouncing ideas back and forth for like projects that, oh, we have to do this, oh, we have to do this.
But now we did something for real.
Yeah. It's not just fantasies. We have like organizational number.
Yes.
That's cool.
We pay taxes now.
Yeah. We run a company together, or a cooperative, that's called QueerKompaniet, or the Queer Company. The original idea was to make our own pride flags, because we found that most pride flags sold today are not great. I mean, first of all, like, it's not good quality, it's pretty cheap plastic that's just been printed on. A lot of it is made in China, which doesn't have a great record on queer human rights. And so a lot of the money for the pride flags go to that. And we also had a lot of frustrations when we were in Värmland Pride together, that it's sort of hard to have good financing for Pride and other forms of queer activism. Especially with Pride, it's either dependent on funding from the region or the commune. And that's a bit shaky. We saw that with COVID, that when a crisis hits, a lot of the funding goes elsewhere. And we've also seen it with if parties like Swedish Democrats, which is the like far-right nationalist party, when they get in power, a lot of the funding goes away as well. And so that's kind of shaky ground. And the other option is basically selling ad space for different companies that want to have like a banner at Pride or something like that.
And the problem with this is that, well, either you have sometimes shaky finances from the public sector, and usually you are quite controlled in what you do, or you do the ad space version and you sell out to the corporations, neither of which is very good, and we want to be a complement there. Yeah. We want to complement the public sector funding by selling these pride flags at different pride events.
And part of the revenue that we get for selling these goes straight away to mostly pride organizers, but we also have some cooperation with RFSL.
Yeah, the local chapters of RFSL.
Yeah, local chapters.
It's 10% of all sales that go to local activism.
Yeah. But their activism and ideas don't stop at just queer rights. It affects the way they run the company.
We were bouncing ideas back and forth and trying to figure out how do we make the best pride flags and how do we make them sustainable, and do we want to do other stuff together with the pride flags. But then we also started having discussions about like one of the more important aspects of running a company, and that's how do you run the company? Yeah. Because we've been involved in activism for quite a long while, and we're both anti-authoritarian, and we thought that like your traditional stock enterprise, it's not really for us.
So they found another way.
We run it as a cooperative, which means that every member of the cooperative has one vote, and we run it together. And we've made some alterations to that model. So the 5 of us who run the company together, we're all on board with every decision. We use a consensus model for decision making. Yeah. Financially, this means that the worker and the investor are one and the same in this company. All 5 of us who are involved, we put some money into the collective bowl, and we try to use that to create employment for ourselves, and also to aid the queer movement here in Sweden. And this is what we chose, partly because of what we believe in and what we believe is fair, and how we believe we should treat each other when we work together. But it's also on a larger scale. We think this is good that we are not beholden to any investors that have claims on ownership in our company other than ourselves, which means that we can be a bit more radical in our political demands and how we support the queer movement, but also that we can give more. These 10% that we give, it's not just a charity that we use to promote our company, it's part of the core of what we do. We sell these flags not to make ourselves rich, we sell them.
We're not getting rich from this, no. Because it's our own money.
It's our own money. We don't sell these flags to make ourselves rich, but we sell them to support the queer movement, and especially Pride.
I think the political term is mutual aid. We are building up the network that we need, not just personally, but as a movement. Our Pride flags are not gonna finance the whole Pride movement, of course, but I hope that we can be some form of inspiration for others who also want to do this cooperative model, mutual aid model, and that we maybe also have bookshops which also give money and help finance the queer movement, and also nightclubs or other queer spaces, and that can sort of take money or sell stuff to straight people and let them finance us, sort of, but also have just maybe queer separatist spaces that we need to just be ourselves comfortably and not have to sort of explain ourselves, and we can also sort of find out what we actually need to do to further our rights.
And another thing that I think we've discussed is we've seen this past 6 months only how queer rights have been scaled back in the US very rapidly and in other parts of the world.
It's been really quick.
It's been very quick. It's a little scary. And what we can see is that when the state gives you rights, it can also take them away. And we need to build our own institutions, and we need to create our own power base, because that's more resilient than any given right, if that even exists.
Astrid also talks about some other issues that the queer community needs to work with.
So I think some questions that is not discussed enough in the queer movement is sort of how climate change is going to affect queer people. I mean, being a minority, we're sort of the first people whose rights are going to get repelled when, shit really hits the fan. And I mean, there's a growing eco-fascist movement that is trying to use the crisis that climate change is causing to gain sort of right-wing popular momentum, and use that to sort of take away queer rights. I also think we need to talk more about white norms in many queer spaces, at least in Sweden. I don't know how it's elsewhere. I think we need to talk more about those kinds of things, and being able to do that properly requires our own voice.
Those issues are super important to discuss, and it would be so cool if those flags could help move those issues forwards. And when we're back to the flags, let's hear about how they're being made.
This flag is made from reused fabric, so it's old sheets that have been donated to us, and then we dye them with certified colorings. And we sew them together. For this particular flag, we didn't do the sewing, but a cooperative called Karin's Döttrar did. It's a women's cooperative that works a lot with women who are in need of work training and help them get a foot in on the labor market again.
And I think that's also part that we need to create, apart from queer networks, I think we also need to create cooperative networks or different forms of work that is more healthy to the people who do work, and give more choice and more freedom and more power to people who do work.
And they also have other projects within the company.
We recently launched a Rainbow Diploma for different types of workplaces. It's a diploma that they have to go through a few courses to attain, and the courses are based around trying to make sure that an entire organization has the correct knowledge that they need. Because not all straight people need to know everything about queer stuff. They just need to...
For work, at least.
For work, yes, for work. But everyone in a workplace needs to have certain knowledge and competency for the types of interactions that they have with other people in their work life. We really want to work with the entire organizational structure when we do this. The diploma is something for the bosses and something for the cleaners.
Yeah, and also do it on like maybe smaller scale, so that also smaller companies can actually afford this, because the certifications or diplomas that exist today are quite expensive, and so that sort of makes it not viable for smaller businesses.
And the diploma that exists today, they only certify small groups within companies usually, and not the entire companies.
So we want to be a sort of complement to that.
So what lies ahead for QueerKompaniet?
Right now we only do the original pride flags.
And quite small too.
Yes, they're quite small. They're wavy flags.
They're wavy flags.
Wavy flags. The next step is to make trans flags and bisexual flags. And after that we're going to prioritize flags in order of how many colors they share with those flags.
And we're also going to try to make them like different sizes. So we're planning on making one that's like yay big and one that's like yay big.
And we're also looking very much forward to like extending our network of pride organizers.
Building more of a network that can do this financing of queer movement, and also just creating spaces for us where we can be ourselves and explore ourselves and find each other.